Hello, I'm Stuart Bloor and I'm kicking the video off with a fish. A little bit of a pull around there. I'm fishing with worm. It's putting up a fight. I don't think it's a big one, but a feisty one. The water temperature is reasonable for this time of the year, so the fish are fairly active. Anyway, typical, trying to take me into overhanging vegetation, but I'm having none of that. Brought it out into open water. Oh, it's a little bit bigger than I thought actually. Yeah. Come on. Old rubber lips. About to hit the back of the net. Yes. Brilliant. And I'll show you that now. Actually, it was a lot bigger than I thought. Cracking fish, isn't it? Great way to start the week. And I've just caught, as you can see there, I haven't taken the hook out yet, a roach, and you can see the worm hanging from its mouth. And as you can no doubt hear on my brolly, it started to rain. And I've just caught a small perch, didn't bother putting it on camera, that's gone back. Mixed bag so far. I do tend to be quite focused in my fishing, so when I go, I always target a particular species, but of course, depending on the bait that you use, anything can turn up, and when you're fishing with things like maggots and worms, all fish will take those, but you can still target species, of course. So it was brilliant to kick off with that chub, wasn't it? The rain has stopped, but the fish are still feeding, and I'm into another one. It's another small perch. I'll show you this one on the camera. There it is. I suppose it's nice enough really, isn't it? It's another perch. I think I've got me a shoulder of them there, haven't I? Nice enough fish, eh? I think this could be a chub this time. It certainly feels decent. If it's a perch, I'll be very happy. I think it might be a bream. You never know sometimes, do you, until they come to the surface. It's a bream. But as far as canal fish go, it's pretty decent. I think certainly one of the bigger bream that I've caught from the canal. It's a nice enough fish. Thought it was a chub at first, the way that it was pulling. Then maybe a perch, but I settled on a bream, and that's what it was. It's getting quite windy now and dark as well, some heavy rain on the way, and that has timed it nicely as far as ending the session's concerned, because I've got to go pick my wife up. She's at her mum's today. Anyway, I've had a mixed bag, haven't I? Roach, bream, perch, just one chub. What a cracker it was, eh? And I'm definitely into quality over quantity, and that fish certainly has made me a happy camper today. Anyway, we've got a few more sessions left this week, so we'll see how they go. I'm on session 2, and I've been here about 20 minutes, and I've had a little bit of a pull around, and it's a chub. Not a big one, but typical chub. Took me into the near side vegetation, but I won in the end. You can see the worm there, hanging from the mouth, cleanly hooked in the side. That's the way it should be. Doesn't always go to plan, of course, but that's what we want to aim for. And there's the fish. Not a massive one to start the session off with, but I'll tell you something, I'm not a blanker, and that's always a good start, particularly in the winter. We've just had an almighty downpour. Oh, and I've got fish, yes. I'll get back to that in a minute. I think this could actually be a perch, and it is. There it is, just a small one. But as I often say, and I will no doubt say many times in the future, all very welcome indeed. Now, where was I before I was rudely, but very nicely interrupted by that fish? We just had a tremendous downpour. It lasted for about 10 minutes, quite heavy, got the brolly up of course, and now it's cleared and the sun's actually poking its head through the clouds. That's the thing with the British weather, and if you're outside of our country you may think that British people talk a lot about the conditions, and they do, some more than others though, I must add. With some it is quite an obsession, but certainly for the angler you need to be switched on, you need to be aware of the conditions, because the conditions, the weather, determines what you fish for, the venue you go on, the tactics you employ, and all that sort of thing. We're in a unique position really on the edge of continental Europe. The wind direction can change several times during a day, and we can have heavy rain brought in from southwesterly winds, and then of course in the winter especially northerly and easterly winds can bring snow. There are parts of the world that I go to, or have been to, like Ghana for example. I could tell you on any given month, any year into the future, what the conditions are going to be like. There's a dry season, there's a rainy season, it will be very humid, it won't be quite so humid. You can actually plan along those lines, but as far as our weather's concerned, you can't. Even from day to day it changes, and in many ways that's the variety that I like, and it certainly brings a challenge to our angling, especially during the winter when the conditions are harsh anyway. But when you do catch, it's always good. Another little perch on. That's the thing with using worms, isn't it? But they all count. Ready to pack away, just another short, sweet session that I've enjoyed very, very much. Anyway, I've had my granddaughter with me for a couple of days. She stayed over a couple of nights actually, and we bought her a book of stickers, and these stickers are appearing everywhere all over our house. And as I'm getting my gear broke down now to go home, what have I noticed on my tripod? A sticker. And as you can see, we've had a bit of snow in the night. I love fishing in the snow. Anyway, first job, get the car cleaned off, and then I'll see you down on the bank. Well, I'm fishing now. It's not as bad down here as where I live. I actually live on the English watershed, so it's right down the spine of the country. We get springs either side of the place where I live. One spring goes one way via a series of brooks and streams and ends up via the River Tame, the River Trent in the North Sea, just a few yards away. Springs rise that way, and they end up via Pembroke, Smestow Brook, the River Stour, the River Severn and the Bristol Channel. That's what the English watershed is. Consequently, high up we get lots of snow, which can be a bit of a problem sometimes, but I'm fishing and that's what really counts. The water temperature has plummeted by over 20% in less than 24 hours. As you can imagine, the conditions are taking an effect upon the water, but as long as my bait's in there, I've got a chance, haven't I? And I've just had a little bit of action on the rod tip. That's something to get quite excited about in conditions like this. Sometimes it's not even the fish that get us excited, it's the action when everything's up against us. But as always, I'm hopeful. Hey, well, my excitement just went to another level as I've actually got a fish on, which is quite something in these conditions, of course. I think from the fight it could be a bream, a bit lifeless to say the least, and that's confirmed. In the net. I was hoping to get a nice snow picture today, but it's not going to be. There's not too much around where I am. Anyway, I've come on the grass behind me, so this is as good as it gets. You can't beat a snow picture, can you? Albeit with a minimal amount behind me. I'm continuing to brave the elements, and according to one or two passers-by, I'm mad to sit out in these conditions, but as a fellow angler, you understand it's nothing to do with insanity. It's all about the passion of fishing, isn't it? Anyway, I'm watching the rod tip as I talk. I've had one or two very quick lightning strikes from roach, but I've got a couple of worms on there, and I've even tipped it off now with a red maggot to try and tempt something into taking it. Those little roach aren't going to take the bait, it's too big for them, but I'm still hoping that big chub is going to come lazily through my swim, pick up the bait, and I'm going to end the session with a nice fish. all the snow we had earlier, although it was very thin on the ground when I'm fishing, it's actually all gone now. We've had the sun out during the day, although it's been very cold. It's been sufficient enough to melt the snow. Anyway, the wind direction's changed, and I've checked the weather forecast. We've got some gales on the way, heavy rain, southwesterly, so I think I'm going to change the species that I'm going for next week. Just what I said in session 2 really, that was quite prophetic, wasn't it? How the weather has changed so quickly overnight, and now it's going in another direction totally. Just go with the flow. Let our fishing, particularly in the winter when conditions are harsh, let our fishing go with whatever the conditions are saying to us.